Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the co-authors of this best-selling book. It's called Mending the Vows. It's all about healthy marriages. Their incredible journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
All right, the cold stone truth is half of all marriages in America end in divorce. And why is that? There's a myriad of reasons, but at the very end of the day, when you said yes or I do, you were hoping for the best, and then suddenly either you change or your husband or wife changes, and then suddenly the marriage is in conflict, and that's why there are so many divorce attorneys in this country and so many marriage counselors. So 2 people who are in the studio right now, they're the co-authors of this best-selling book. It's called Mending the Vow. They're in the studio right now, Nyjha Andrews and Vater Williams. Thanks for both coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Well, this book is necessary, and I know there's a lot of books about healthy marriages. Let's start with you, Nyjha. Why did you guys write the book?
Well, we wrote the book. It kind of developed itself. It all started back when we were in a mentor relationship and we were praying together in the morning. And that just continued to develop over years. And one day the Lord said to us, go ahead and start recording yourselves. And so we did. We obeyed the Lord and we continued to pray every morning. And then he said, write the book. And so it wasn't one of those options where we said, you know what, we're going to write a book. But instead it was the Lord just kind of developed us and just wrote us along in obedience to mend the vow.
That's so beautiful. Vater, talk about the process, because anytime you're working with a co-author, I mean, you may have some ideas and she has some ideas. How did you collaborate?
So at a point, we printed out all those prayers, and then we got together and we prayed and we said, okay, what is God leading us to put in this book? Because this is just our first volume. We've got volume 2 actually in publishing now.
Yes.
And so we literally sat down and the prayers that are in this particular book, we got together and collaborated. And yes, we had a lot of discussions where not only what should go in the book, right, but also the placing of the prayers in the book. Yes. So yeah.
Well, you could talk to 20 people about healthy marriages and you're going to get 20 different opinions because they're coming from their viewpoint.
Yes.
As you were writing the book together, did you discover, is there a commonality when marriages break down? Mm-hmm. Why do they break down? Mm-hmm. Do you want to start?
Sure. So a lot of what we're dealing with in the book, it really speaks to the process of working through those particular situations. When marriages break down, when communication breaks down, when there begins to be problems in a marriage, some people are just like, okay, then something's wrong. But it's not that something is wrong. It's really more about blending lives and becoming one. And so you have to be able to navigate. And that's what this book does for you. It helps you to navigate those emotional times or those moments when you think something's wrong. And it's just, hey, what is the answer for this particular situation that we're facing today?
Absolutely. We're going to put the book, the full cover on the screen. I love the graphic. I mean, it's kind of a broken heart. Nyjha, let's go back to you. Again, half of all marriages end in divorce. Is it because the person changed? Did you marry the wrong person? As you look at, why is the divorce rate so high?
Well, when I think about that, I think about the fact that 2 become 1. And I think what happens is that there's a struggle with the two becoming one. Every time we say we're becoming one, that means we have to come into an agreement to be the one,
Yes.
to be united. And what happens is that a lot of times as we develop, we start taking on our own ideologies and going forth in that. And then selfishness can kick in because we want to win. But guess what? When we remember that two becomes one, we win, not just I win. And what happens, I believe, is that communication struggles. And go back to the blueprint. What was the blueprint before you said I do? And if you was never aware of the blueprint, as you're out there discovering and developing your own self, you forgot to develop the marriage. You forgot to develop the us, to develop the oneness that you already agreed to and made the vow to. That's what I think breaks up a lot of marriages, because we don't know the blueprint. We never look back at the plans to see what room was there, what was there. We did these renovations on half the house, but not the whole house. And it starts to fall because the foundation was never stable enough, because we didn't know the foundation was there.
What I know you're both women of great faith. What are some lessons that we can learn from the Bible on healthy marriages?
Oh, wow. I'll use one of my favorite prayers, which is ministry of silence. You know, we there's a scripture that says, "Be still and let the Lord fight your battle," right? And a lot of times we say that out loud, but we don't really allow that to really materialize and walk that out. And so literally learning to just be okay with not responding, not reacting, not defending ourselves, but really recognizing that it's okay that my mate has something to say and I don't have to have a reaction to that. I don't have to respond to that. I can be okay with, okay, all right. I don't always have to react. And so ministry of silence is one of my favorite prayers in the book, or favorite chapters in the book. And it has really worked something in me. And not only has it benefited me in my marriage, it benefited me in my, in other areas of my life where I've learned to just be okay and not have to respond, even though something's coming to mind, but it's not always necessary for me to respond.
All right, and Nyjha, let's expand on that, because I do think often when couples fight, they're not really listening. They're thinking of the next thing they're going to say.
Right.
And then sometimes it can just be a cheap shot. Like you said something where you really needed your husband to hear you, and then he brought up something from 20 years ago. Right?
Yes.
So talk about the importance of listening.
That's something. So I think when we think about listening, we have to know I'm not listening to respond, but I'm really listening to understand. And when we try to listen to understand, what happens is that we then can hear them. And if I hear them, I can even hear past the hurt. I can hear past the trauma. I can hear past every issue that they have and really deal with what are you really saying? The discernment will kick in, because guess what? We're one. So if you're wounded, if there's something you're really trying to get out to me, I should be able to grab hold of that. And if I can't, I need to ask more questions related to that topic that matter, and not bring something else in to deflect it off of myself. Because if I keep deflecting, what happens is then we're never going to solve it. It's going to keep piling up. I've been married for 20 years. And what I've come to find is that the ministry of silence is effective. And even when I want something to say and I have something to say, because I know how to shut this down, because I have a smart mouth at times, the Lord is working on me. I have learned to step back and say, I want victory for the whole war. That's not just this battle. And so if I could be silent in this battle, I'm going to win the war. And I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to put it back on him to just really let him express himself. Because right now it's frustration that's speaking.
That's right.
And one thing I've learned over the years, because I've grown, I'm 42. And so to be married so young, I have learned over the years that if I can be quiet, I can allow him to speak. and then I can go after what is the solution here. And even while he's talking, I'm praying for him. Lord, help us to see the blueprint here. Help us to see the purpose here, so I can know that for this cause, we were meant for this moment.
That's right.
Well, I know you both are speakers, obviously co-authors. Nyjha, I found some video of you speaking. I think this was at a church. We're going to show this video. Where was this shot? Do you remember?
Yes, I was at a singles women retreat actually, and they were asking questions about what happens when, it didn't work. I've been desiring marriage for so long, and then I said, we got to walk the land. Like I remember when God in Genesis, he talked about just walking in the cool of the day. I'm like, sometimes we got to know how to go after the land and till the ground of the hard and disappointed places.
Yeah.
And so that's
you
what
took off
happened.
your shoes. You walked.
Yes, I did. I got comfortable. I take this thing seriously.
Yeah.
Vater, what's another takeaway? What do you want people to take from this
Oh
book?
gosh, I literally was just skimming the chapters in the book, and there's so much to take away, but I want people to remember the I do. I want you to remember the I do, because in the heat of the moment, when you're navigating those emotional highs and lows in marriage, remember the I do. Remember the things that you committed to. Sometimes we're so focused, and prayer can get like that. When you're dealing with conflict in your marriage, it can get very focused on the other person. They're doing this, you're doing this, you're not doing that. And remember the I do. What was your commitment? What was those things that you said, hey, I am really happy to do this, and I commit to this in goodness and, goodness and bad, health, sickness and health, whether all of those things that we promise and that we dream about, remember that, allow that to be on the forefront, because it is easy to allow our emotions to drive our focus somewhere else, and we forget about those things. And when we forget about those things, we then begin to do things differently, and it's an opposite of the I do's.
Let's talk a little bit about falling in love with a mask. And what I mean by that is my father gave me some wisdom many years ago, saying that when you first start dating, you're wearing 17 masks.
Wow.
And then you take one off, and then you slowly take another off, and then hopefully before you say I do, you've taken off all the masks. But
You hope.
there's countless couples that fell in love with a mask.
Yeah.
And then 3 months into the marriage, they're like, who are you?
Right.
So,
And I don't think there's a timeline to that. So that mask, until you are married to someone, you really do not know the real person, because we are on our best behavior. I dated my husband for 2.5 years, and I'm telling you, the man that I met after I said I do is not those 2.5 years. And it's okay. But I'm saying that person that I met. And so sometimes we are, Jeff, on our best behavior, and we're trying to impress, and we're trying to put forth that person that we think the other person wants and desires and will be happy with. But we do fall in love with the mask. But here's the deal. When you make that commitment, when you say the I do's, you got to be ready for that. You've got to be ready to meet somebody different. And then you mentioned earlier, even over time, we change. I married my husband in this season. So I had done a lot of cooking and, and all of that. And at that point I had a housekeeper. I was eating Chipotle. My kids were out of college. And so all of that had changed. So I didn't want to cook every day.
Right.
I didn't want to clean. I didn't want to cut grass. And so over the years, we do change. So even with that, that's not a mask. That's just people just change over the years. And then, like you said, your wife, all of a sudden, she's looking at cooking shows and now she's chopping onions and things.
Yeah.
That is awesome. But that's not a mask that she had on. That's just a change. So even in that, we have to be ready to handle, right, and be able to handle the changes in our mace, because we're going to change.
Yes, we are.
And so we can think about the mask, but we're going to change organically.
Nyjha, you want to add anything to that?
I do. I think when I think about the mask, I think about the fact that a lot of times we wear masks that other people put on us because we don't know ourselves. And even as you're in relationship, I think it's essential start asking the real questions. Ask about the upbringing, learn about the traumas early, because that lets you know there's a mask of trauma, a mask of rage, a mask of hurt that still might be dwelling there if they've never gotten healed. And really allow people to talk and try to get to the transparent place. It's not easy. And you're still not going to know all the parts of them until they have gotten so much more comfortable. And sometimes that do come after the I do.
That's right.
But help them and help yourself. Go after who am I and what is my blueprint.
Yeah.
And you go after these areas, you're going to keep taking off the mask that the world has put on you, that your parents put on you, that society has put on you, that your environment has put on you, that you put on yourself through the fascinations of television. I know I used to watch the Cosby Show, and I swore I was going to marry somebody like Dr. Huxtable, and I'm going to be clean. I didn't go to medical school. I didn't become a lawyer. I didn't go to law school either. But guess what? I had a mask of thinking this is what the ideal family and the environment is supposed to be. And that was a mask. But the more I've sat in the presence of God and really dealt with myself and allow him to take the mask off, it hurt. And the reality of you, sometimes it's ugly, but until you get past another layer and you continue to, then you will reveal something so beautiful and so pure that when you marry, you can be naked and unashamed.
That's right.
Because that's the goal, really, is to take off everything and stand before each other and be unashamed. So go after the unashamed place.
Yeah.
If I'm ashamed of any place in myself when I'm in your presence, then we're not ready to get married yet. And we have some areas to deal with. If I'm ashamed of you and you're ashamed of me and we're married, guess what? We don't respect and don't honor each other. And we got to get naked and get unashamed and go after that place, because that's purpose.
That's right. I got to add something to that. There's a chapter in the book that says, allow my spouse to be who they are called to become without hindrance.
Yes.
And that's the other thing. There are times in your marriage where this person is still becoming, and you may not be 100% happy with exactly who they are, but we can't force that process to take place. We cannot force them to become who they are right away. That sometimes is a process. And that chapter in the book really speaks to that, because we've got to be patient. We've got to be okay with who they are in that moment. And so that one that chapter where it talks about without hindrance, because if I'm constantly reminding you, you're not this, you're not that, you didn't do this, you didn't take the garbage out, you didn't, pay this bill on time because I'm a serial bill payer, whatever that is, that's not the right way to handle this thing if we want a cohesive and collaborative marriage. It's really allowing it. It's gentle reminders, and sometimes it's just praying and patience and just allowing them to evolve. There are some things that I may do just to set the example of what I like, versus saying, I told you I like a chocolate cake. Again, you brought banana. It's sometimes it's just those little subtle things that you do that really help your mate to become who that person that you really like. Yeah.
You guys are amazing. We're almost out of time. So Nyjha, let's give you the final word. Okay, what do you want to leave people with?
I would say I would love to leave you with knowing that Mending the Vow, yes, phenomenal for marriages, but it's not just for marriages. It is truly for every relationship. I use this in friendships and other opportunities, and even in family. This is a book that says for marriage, but it's about you. Let's deal with ourselves, because the more we deal with ourselves, the more we go after our blueprint, our purpose, it aligns and positions us for marriage, for every good thing that God has for us. Everything that you were called for, it all goes back to what was knitted on the inside. Don't forget you're fearfully and wonderfully made.
That's right.
Don't forget that who he has called you is there. It's all in you. You are fully equipped. You are not without. You are not in a deficit. You are not broken. You are more mended than you will ever know. But guess what? Until somebody take the tape off of that, off the lenses of your eyes and the dim places of your heart, you won't see it.
You won't see it.
but Mending the Vow can help you get there.
Yes.
Let's drop that mic right now. That was amazing. Good job. We're gonna end with Nyjha's Facebook page, so you can book both of them to speak. But Nyjha, Andrews, thanks so much, both of you, for coming on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
We appreciate
Thank you
you.
for having us.
Thank you for having us. This was amazing.
All right, that's it for now. We'll see you next time.